Going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Prudential Committee to order on May 9th at EJRP. It is 6:30 p.m. and first item of business is visitors and staff to be heard. Seeing none, hearing none, we will move on to talk about trying to get a fifth board member on the board. I reached out to Tim, but I didn't get reached back.
Okay, but we did have one person.
We do have one person that was interested. This is the same individual, or one of the individuals who was interested in being on the new board.
Okay.
So we've talked with him. And my position is in all honesty very similar to how it was our last meeting when we talked about putting someone on the U46 board. Was we held an election. That was an opportunity for anyone who was interested to serve on the board to put in to fill out a petition, put their name on the ballot. We have a person interested. I'm actually in favor of putting him on, partially, even though he's new. I'd like to see someone that's interested in serving on the board. And so, unless there's any objection, I mean, we can continue to have the discussion.
Well, I think if we have somebody that's interested, we should definitely do it. I mean, we gave everybody an opportunity who was interested to put their name forward. One person did. Mm-hmm. I think it's important, as we can see with, last week I wasn't able, or last meeting I was traveling, right. So I was not able to be here. Tonight, Candace is not able to be here. Thank you for Marla for making it.
Yeah.
But we would then not be and have a quorum.
I almost called
Right.
to say I was staying home.
Right.
So I think it's important for us to keep the 5-member board. It does give somebody some experience if they are interested, because there will be EWEC seats open at the
Right.
next election, and this is a good way to kind of get some time. So
That's-
I would be in favor of us appointing that person to this board.
I completely agree. That was.
I think the fact that he showed up and wanted to be on the EWEC board, and we had told the other members there that there would be openings coming up, and feel free to apply again. So I think I'm in favor of somebody this interested.
Mm-hmm.
And we already met him.
Yep.
We already
I think this is good.
know
Right.
what his thoughts are and everything else.
Right. So,
Okay.
do you want to make an appointment, because it has been warned as a action item?
I move that we appoint Patrick Murray to the Prudential Committee. And this appointment will be until the annual meeting in April of 2017 already.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jason. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of appointing Patrick Murray to the Prudential Committee for from now until the annual meeting in April of 2017, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Great.
Now-
Thank you.
With that, one of the things, and I would have sent it out, but it occurred to me as I was driving actually home today. Is there any possibility of, come the annual meeting, of having an item on the ballot that just extends everybody's term until like the end of 2017?
Let me ask Chris Leopold, so that we're all positioned when April comes around, so that, or before that, so that you know whether you have to take out petitions and
Right.
do that work.
It would be something that needed to even be on like a November ballot to make it hold, to give us time. Put it out early, like on, say, do we have to put maybe out on the November ballot saying, hey, on the April, we're going to put this motion out. Be allowed to put this motion out to just continue the existing board for another year.
I don't know if it
Let me
needs to be
let
that
me figure
complicated,
it out.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if how you guys feel about that. It's just
I don't
that,
have to do anything.
we've got two
Yeah.
people,
We'll
that
have
are
3
that-
openings.
Right.
I'm the only one that wouldn't be.
correct. It's just-
Candace is up.
well, actually, it would
I'm
be three of
up.
us. Technically, it would be three.
It would be
This new
Marla,
appointment,
this new appointment, and Candace.
right, and Marla. So that's,
Yeah.
and I was just looking at something, if it's possible to do that,
Yes.
that it would
Because
just
it's
simplify
only
things.
for
'Cause it's
like
just-
another 5 months, 5-6 months.
Well, I mean, not for all intents and purposes, the board dissolves on June 30th. And there's just paperwork responsibility from that point on. There's no more school
Responsibility.
decisions that are being
No
made.
budget responsibility.
I could
Not even
even,
policy or anything, I don't believe.
right.
There won't be a CCSU board.
So that was just my thought, is if
Yeah,
it's
let
possible
me
to
ask,
do that.
yeah, since it's new territory,
Right.
let me ask Chris's opinion on that and see if he can structure.
And the same thing would apply then for Westford.
Oh,
if they could do that.
absolutely.
Don't know if the U46 would need it. Maybe they do. And if they do, then, yeah, if it's possible, then it would simplify for everybody.
Yeah, everybody has, you know.
Actually, a CCSU board would have to exist
everybody just still has-
because of the audits. We got to finish
Right,
out
so
the
it's just-
audits.
Right,
But it's just, you keep the people in place that are kind of responsible for the audits as well, I guess,
Right.
to some extent.
right.
All right.
So that'd be good. I'll find out and bring it back to you in the June meeting. And actually, that's a good time because it's carousel meeting. And you'll all have that, all boards will have that in common as far as open seats and how long to extend and if there's a way to just extend for all those who would be,
Isn't the presidential election this year?
That's in November.
November, because I can see Chris saying that we have to warn.
Right, and
That
that's why I'm asking
article?
now. So
Yeah.
if there's,
That's
still
why
gives
I
us
was
time.
bringing up that.
Yeah, that's
well, you
great.
don't
Right.
have a meeting then, though.
What's that?
You don't have a ballot in November. You don't bring anything
Oh.
forward as a board, and your annual meeting's in April. So you don't have a ballot during that time, so I don't think that would be an option, but certainly figuring out how to move forward so that in April or even before, whether you have to take out a petition or even begin the communication in the community saying with this short timeline moving forward, you know, we're going to be asking for just a continuation.
Right.
And I'm not sure it's legal because up until now you always have to take out a petition and go through the process, but if there's a way to waive the process in light of where you find yourself
Right, that's what I'm saying.
as
Because
dissolving.
the election's in April and the boards dissolve in, in June.
Right.
So it just strikes me as kind of silly.
It sounds like you're using your common sense.
Yes. Sorry.
Usually contrary to law.
Right. All right. All right, so let's move on to the next topic, which is the 2015-2016 school calendar.
And I had spoken with the board that earlier about the possibility of having a makeup snow day, and we only had one this year. It happened on February 16th. So in talking with your principals, they have unanimously asked that I come forward and ask that that day be made up by being converted to a professional development day because they really need the time to work with their teachers.
So what would that mean for the calendar? Right now we have a partial day on the 13th,
Correct,
Monday the 13th.
correct,
We would still have this partial day on Monday the 13th.
correct.
Doesn't make sense.
We
And then a
don't-
full
any-
day on Tuesday. Right?
No,
No, she's
No,
saying
no.
have.
No,
a
but, well,
professional-
right. If we didn't do that,
We would have, we'd have a full day on the 13th and a partial day on the 14th.
right. But other things are scheduled for the 13th already, right? Is that move up day for the
Yeah.
8th grade?
Yes.
Right.
Well, your
Or is
move
that-
up day is on the
Or is that the 10th?
10th.
Okay.
10th.
So can I
Mm-hmm.
ask this question? I mean, I dislike the fact that we're ending a school year on a partial Monday,
Mm-hmm.
because I think we're gonna see a wide range of people out for, I mean, it's not gonna be a really anything type day. Do we have any?
Step up. They do have it be meaningful. I know it'll be step up for Fleming and
Fleming.
ADL. So, and it's been advertised as a half day since the beginning of the year. We've
Yep.
had the conversation at nauseam.
I know, we had the conversation of potentially even creating that one as a
Right.
professional development day.
Absolutely.
So I was going back there, is there any way to
Right.
do that?
I
Or
can
does
only
that-
tell you that we've talked about it at length, at great length, and that's the recommendation from your principals going forward. And that was an agreed upon at an ELT meeting. Westford approved it for Westford. The high school is using it as a student day, but their calendar ended a day early anyway, because of the way they do parent-teacher conferences differently. So, it's a recommendation. You can say yay or nay. If you say nay, then it's a full day on June 13th and a partial day on the 14th.
I don't know, my opinion is to keep it just as it is. It's what people had already budgeted for.
Yeah.
We did, I mean, I think we all kind of agreed that it's a little frustrating having the year end on a Monday
Right.
on the schedule.
That's why I was saying, I was going back to the conversation, the last conversation I was a part of, where we talked about maybe trying to change the 13th into a professional development day. I just didn't know if we had enough.
I didn't look at the next year's calendar. Are we going to end differently next year? We aren't going to end on a Monday, I don't think.
Do you remember?
I would agree with this, except, and if the calendar's different and we have a snow day, then I think we need to look at that half day happening again on a Monday. It just doesn't seem logical.
Next year, you would end on Friday,
We're going to end on a Friday.
Friday,
Okay.
June 16th.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I thought.
So that makes
Much
more
later.
sense.
School starts later, it doesn't start till almost September next year,
So what do you need the motion to say?
for Labor Day.
Let's see, let me read. I just want to get the. So I guess I'll make a motion that we amend the school calendar to convert the one student makeup day due to a snow day to a staff development day, which will be Tuesday, the 14th,
I'll
correct? And then the students still have half day on Monday, the 13th of June.
I will second.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion for the school calendar, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Okay, so, Marla, can you give us a quick update on the,
Very quick, not
meeting for-
much has happened since I updated at the last meeting. We held we're getting into that routine of holding meetings the first and third Tuesday of every month. We basically went over just more of the superintendent's work plan. And the task teams are just starting to lay out their processes and starting to do some research in the areas they have to. I know individually, Martha and I are going to be meeting with Dan French, our project manager, May
23rd.
23rd, and we're going to talk about the superintendent search process, because neither Judy or Mark would be in charge of that, so we're going to have Dan French, the project manager, doing things that would be a conflict for Judy or Mark.
Makes sense.
So I think that's the real big thing that came out of that last meeting was our task teams are getting developed and working. Can you think of anything else I missed?
You prepared for your annual meeting.
Oh, yeah, we had the
Yes,
annual meeting.
how did that go?
We had the chair of the high school board there. We had the chair of Westford there. And we had a staff member there, 2 of them that live in the Junction or Westford. And we had the clerk of the district, and we had the clerk for the PC there. I think that was it.
That was.
It.
So the PC had representation,
Sitting on the,
not sitting.
well,
on the
you
board.
had 2 people maybe that lived in the Junction that were there. And I didn't see any public from Westford. I didn't see.
I was there with Mark Droppa.
Yes, you were. That's right, 2 of you. But thank God for Mark and Brian because they understood doing motions.
Yeah.
So, and our, the moderator was a little confused by one of the motions and Mark had to explain it to him. So, it was.
Everything passed though. And,
Good.
Yeah.
At annual meeting. It was tough. I mean, when you think about this transition, we have to do what we have to do according to law. And so the board met January 26th for their first meeting where they were recognized as a new entity. And then they had to, before July 1st, hold an annual meeting according to law. So they had, a second meeting so soon. And that's after your April annual meeting.
Right,
for
right.
Essex. And then Westford had theirs. So there were 4 annual meetings this year. Between January and May 4th. So it's just going to be confusing like that for a while until people get into the rhythm of the new system.
I think next year, our annual meeting, if I'm not mistaken, will be on the same date as the PC's annual meeting and the high school's annual meeting.
Yeah, I
So
think
there'll be some coordination going
Yes.
on there as to who goes first, second, third.
Third.
Well, the expectation is that the U46 and the PC meetings shouldn't be
Go in the same time.
at any.
They don't
if
have a
they-
budget.
we could talk alternating and be as efficient as possible because they need to be very short. But there's not much to discuss.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But,
that's just the reality of it.
Well, who has to pass the EJRP budget for next year?
That's still
Has to
be
go through-
determined.
That's still be determined by the.
That'll change by the time we get into the budget next year.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That's true. That is true.
Well, that's why there is a sense of urgency around that decision, which is your next
I know,
decision.
but as we talk about the next thing, we can't rush the decision just because people want to clean it up. I mean, there is a path and make sure we do it right.
There won't be a board to represent them unless you get it figured out.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll go right into the. Do you have anything else, Marla?
No, I think the only other thing about it is we finally received money from the state. The study grants finally came through.
Okay.
So Judy and her department, in this transition, Mark is responsible for certain things. Judy's responsible for the financial, human resources, and I believe IT.
Yes.
Okay.
And so she was finally able to present a budget. And of course, that's kind of open. That'll change because it's a lot of guessing at this point.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Thank you for that. The next topic is the Recreation Governance Study Committee update. And, I can tell you that everybody that would have been at the EWEC annual meeting and wasn't there, it was because they were attending the Rec Governance meeting, which was held at the same night. We actually had, we continue to have, a pretty fair
We had
representation.
6 people in the audience
Yeah.
for that one.
And, we're continuing to look at the options. I'll let Jason
Yeah,
talk
I
a little
mean,
bit about this
so-
last meeting.
So, as a group, we looked at, with the audience participation as well, went and looked at what were the narrowed down 5 options. And people put pros, cons, what more information is required. And we went and saw how they all ranked up. So at the end of the night, you would say the top 2 was either to form a union municipal district or to have the EWEC Unified Union School District take charge of the rec department. What had no support at all was an interlocal contract, and what had very poor support was either village municipality or town municipality oversight. Both of those were still in a negative view. Most people disagreed with those, but
What was the 2 forms? I understand having it under the new school district.
or a
what
union
was-
municipal district.
They can form a union?
Municipal district, just to do the rec departments.
Correct.
And it's not like a union municipal district?
Yes.
Yes.
And does that mean that the town of Essex and Essex Junction would have to form to do that? Or because Essex Junction Rec and Parks do it
It
separately?
would be it as both of them. It
Yes,
would
in
be
this
the rec-
case, this would be,
Essex
they would
Rec
be
Department
joined
and
together.
EGRP.
They'd be joined together.
Right. All of our options that we're currently exploring are joint, with the exception of
Village municipal.
where the village takes over EJRP.
Because this vote that you're going to do has to go before the public, correct?
For the options that are still in the running, if we did an interlocal contract, it would not have, but for the options still in running, yes.
Yes.
What was, may I ask a question?
Go ahead.
What's can you talk a little bit about what an interlocal contract is?
This would have been the village and the town agreeing to share the services. And
It's actually
It
the
was
one that was,
it was probably the most confusing one.
and that may have been why it received the lower amount of support, is that I think people are not entirely sure what it really is in the end. And because because of how our process was to survey the committee and rank our choices, because that received the lowest amount of support, we kind of left the topic for the moment. And so, essentially, the way I took it, an interlocal contract is you're contracting for the services,
Yep.
at its very basic. But it did not receive a lot of support from the group as a whole.
And the remaining 2 favorite options, I mean, there's a lot of questions with both. If you go union municipal district, there was the questions of there would have to be some kind of MOUs or something that was entered in with the school district about use of properties and buildings, and what would that be? Because there was a lot of concern for why EGRP wound up with a Prudential committee to begin with, was some of the inability to get into school services or using school buildings. There was concern about what happens to staff that are shared today between EGRP and the school district. Now those people would lose the ability to kind of have that dual role and be counted as one employer. But now they'd have to basically get 2 part-time jobs. So that was a concern. There was some concern that we needed more information. What happens with preschool if this was the case? Because right now, would a union municipality want to run and be able to run their own independent preschool, or should something different happen with the preschool in the future? So there were some questions there. Then with a unified union school district taking over ownership, there was the main question of Westford. What happens with Westford? Do you try to get Westford in, or do you operate it with it's going to serve just Essex and Essex Junction, and then Westford still is dealt with their own way? Would the board even want to have oversight? was kind of the main ones.
Yeah.
Most of it, the main was the Westford. There was a lot of positive approval about saying, listen, it works very well with the Prudential Committee and the model today of access to the school services, shared staff. It's a little more rigorous as far as the background checking. That there was definitely some people that really
Shared
liked
policies.
it. Shared policies. You know, it was questions if you won the Union Municipal District again, who handles all of the administrative type things, IT services, HR services, you know, all of those services, they're going to have to contract out for all of those. So,
And there are a lot more other steps that need to occur
yes.
with the municipal district, because then you have to, it has to be approved by the state. A new charter has to be created. I mean, there's,
For the Union Municipal, it
Yes,
has to.
you have to
Yes.
get it approved all the way through the state and a new charter.
and you would have to then also elect, all of you would have to have a board. It would have to be elected members. You know, there are some pretty significant hurdles to that. But in general, it was the most
It was the most favorable.
liked.
The
Concept.
Union Municipal.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, B3 and B4 were the most liked.
So-
B3 being the number one. So, and I think the main drawback of the second one was the whole unclear of how Westford would be handled.
Right.
So most of the people on the committee, even the town of Essex reps and the select board, they seem okay with
I wouldn't say it was
forming
forming what?
a union municipal district.
It didn't get any unfavorable voting at
Correct.
this stage.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It got neutral to agreed.
So I guess my question is, because we're in a time, there is a little bit of a time crunch for who's going to do the budget for EJRP.
Well, I think we need to
Next
really
year.
have that clarified, because there is a Prudential Committee that is in formation all the way up through the end of June. There's no reason they couldn't oversee an EGRP budget for the next year and have it voted and approved on. They're still a body, they're still elected
You're dissolved as of July 1st.
of 2017. So the budget for that year is voted on in April for the next calendar year.
No, the next calendar year is 2018.
Right, but that budget is voted on in April.
Right. But there's no governing board in place to implement that budget.
And wouldn't then that transfer immediately as with all the other Prudential Committee into the EWEC?
Well, it depends on how it all gets structured. So those
Right.
are good questions that
Right,
you're
and
asking.
the board isn't officially dissolved on July 1st because they still have to be around and at least through the end of the calendar year.
Just for the purposes of signing off on your audits and
stuff like
closing
that.
your books and that. You don't have any authority.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know if they would retain authority over EGRP.
Yeah, that's what we weren't sure.
Because would they still
In
retain
that evening's
authority of
discussion, just to make
EGRP,
sure.
or would that transfer to the EWEC until an agreement is reached?
That would have to be something that is worked through with the new board if there's a willingness for that.
Well, but isn't all the responsibilities of the Prudential Committee transferred to the new board?
The school district responsibilities, but EJRP, there was never any, it was to be studied, and there was never, it's a separate entity.
Okay.
So it was, this board is responsible for the transfer of it, either to the two ideas that you think are pretty favorable. But I think it's prudent to make sure that they get transferred.
Understand, I'm just trying to make sure I legally understand what happens if, say, we don't have a workable solution, or if we have to take something in front of voters if they disagree.
Right.
I really think that we need to hold a session with Chris Leopold so that we can give him the board's questions. I really think we need a session with him so that we can understand what the options are, because we've got the loan on this building still for a couple of years, and that money moves over to that new board unless there's that understanding agreement, because that is the PC's responsibility. That loan that we signed on and this building
Yep.
is our ownership till 2019. So I really think we need to have a conversation. The other thing I got to thinking about when we worked as a red study, I don't think we ever looked into, we own property up on Saxon. We leased it for 99 years to the town, rec, I believe it was. But we still have ownership of that, and we've got to deal with that. We may need to have Chris do something where we transfer ownership back to the village and they hold the lease. That really should be looked into. I've started putting on
Yeah,
my
I didn't know
thinking
about.
cap. Yeah. Isn't it 90 some odd acres up there? I think
I
it's
think
about,
so, yeah.
yeah. And we leased it because the school district couldn't clean it up and take care of it, where I believe it was the town of Essex rec that signed the lease, or municipal. And I think it was $1 for 99 years. And I remember back at the time we did it, we had a couple of members that lived up in that area that were threatening to liability because it wasn't, logs down or whatever, and tripping and getting injured and things. So that was a whole conversation. So I really think we need to look at the buildings, and I think we really need to look at Park Street, depending on how everything works out. I really think Park Street belongs with rec, personally.
Well,
So-
it really depends to me. It's answering the question, what if rec goes away, in essence, does the school district have any responsibility for any kind of preschool with all the acts and with the town money, or can we use, if there's a municipality, would their rec department satisfy that need?
So preschool, they are a private preschool
Right.
currently. So with whomever they are transferred to, I think that's the big question. All their assets and debts would be transferred. All the land.
Okay.
It's just the who.
So we, the
What
district would still
entity?
have to budget out the 3,000 whatever per student in the school district budget, and that would then get transferred to
With
whatever
the slots.
entity.
Exactly.
For the slots.
we
Yeah.
decide.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But where you would have to have some kind of statement, I guess, of understanding that the new entity of rec would continue to operate that for so many years. and
Yeah,
provide
they're
a
an
preschool.
independent preschool, so they're private, and they're on the list with all the other
Okay.
ones, so
They're just on the
that shouldn't be a barrier at all. They would continue to be recognized as long as they maintain their licensure.
yeah. The one thing I maybe I didn't get the question answered, and I thought I had because of other responses, was the agreement that the PC signed with the village is it's a perpetual agreement. In other words, it's for 2 years. But every year it adds another year if nobody challenges the agreement. As long as people are still in agreement, it just automatically adds another year and continues on. And so that agreement, does that terminate when the PC terminates, if nothing's done?
Mm-hmm.
Or is that what carries over to the unified board? Because we talked about, that there are the agreements that the PC enters into. Is that one of those that carries over, or does it terminate, and therefore us doing nothing would then just return governance to the village?
I think those are the questions that Marla wants Chris to answer.
Right.
And is there a way, we need him to answer this, but can we get him to answer them in a relatively short time?
And so my understanding is we can capture your questions tonight, and then I'll be happy to contact Chris on your behalf. This will be a PC expenditure. It's
Right.
not a new board expenditure.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
for legal services, you want to ask the following questions. Does the village and Prudential Committee agreement terminate on July 1st, 2017? And if nothing changes, does it automatically transfer to the village? This is one
Right.
question I heard. Another question was around preschool, and I'm pretty certain about that, but I'll follow up with that as well. As far as your land and buildings, and all your assets and debts, will they be transferred? To whom would they be transferred? And I think he's going to say that'll depend on the entity to which the communities wish, like whether it's the Union Municipal District or the
Or
school.
themselves, I guess? Yeah, yeah, you said
Village.
Union Municipal District, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just to figure that piece out. And then some of the questions around contracting services. I know that I'm having a meeting with Deb Robbins, Kathy Barron, Grant Geisler, Paul O'Brien to talk about what are the services that we provide administratively and what are the costs for those services, because whether we keep them or whether they are transferred, the new board would need to budget for that, knowing that the new board also still has a promise to the community to save money. So that is a question for the new board to answer, but at least they should know what the costs are.
So that cost would be different than what's in the budget for 2017, the EGRP, they get a line item charge for.
No, they don't now because it's under you, so we've assumed it. So all of our administrative services are just a part of what we provide you because you hire us on your behalf.
So the 100,000 roughly, IT and other services, doesn't include everything that they get from the district.
Correct.
There's additional services. Okay.
Right, so it's payroll support,
Yeah, all that.
IT support, all the support services
Right.
that are never, we really have never costed them out.
Yeah,
But I think that would be a question the new board would have as
exactly.
far as, what does this mean financially?
Yeah.
Either whomever they go to, what's the capacity that's needed to administer the new unionized
Okay.
districts. So
The thing with the budget, though, EJRP has its own budget, so no matter what entity has them, their budget has to absorb the administrative costs. So it's not an expense to EWSD if they were taking on the rec, because rec would have to absorb those administrative costs or whatever they're contracted with.
Well, today, right, rec doesn't absorb the full cost is what I just heard.
right.
They only absorb a portion of the cost that they're allocated, but what would be the full cost?
Right, but the new board, let's say they ran it, then that isn't a cost to them if they contract it out.
Well, you would have additional employees. So
Right.
you would have to maintain additional employees that you wouldn't maintain if you weren't managing another entity. That's the reality of that.
Okay, so you're saying today the CCSU has additional employees just to support rec?
Portions of employees, and now you're talking about combining two recreation programs as
Yep.
well. So we really there hasn't been a cost analysis done of that, because
Right.
So you're gonna do a cost analysis?
we're gonna begin the process, so
Okay.
I give you some background, because, I mean, one of the reasons the red articles were reviewed is to talk about cost efficiencies. and effectiveness in programming, educational programming. And so I think the other thing to review would be policies, because right now, and without a doubt, I'm sure our policies would want to continue to serve village kids and after-school programming in all the schools, because that's a huge need in the community, and we never talked about doing less. It's just who's going to bear the governance piece of that and the costs, because every program has administrative costs. So, and they have to talk about what does it look like in a joint merger of recreation programs, like how much service is that, how many employees will that be? We only know EJRP. I don't.
Well, they did a review of how many employees the Essex Rec Department have, which is significantly less than EGRP.
So
They have
looking at the
4
combined, the combined employee base, we just haven't, nobody's done the work yet.
Right.
Nobody's been charged. But I think it's really important work for us to do on your behalf.
Yep.
Because I think before any board, be it municipal or a school board, takes on another entity, you've done it through charter, but before anybody would assume a transfer, I think they'd want to have an understanding of the costs involved in that.
Yeah.
So that meeting is like in a couple weeks. So we'll begin some of that background work to start to inform the conversation for you. In the meantime, I can have Chris either attend a meeting, your June meeting, if that would be helpful, so that you could kind of do some popcorn questions, or just send questions and have him respond.
I'd rather get the questions respond, only because as the Rec Governance Committee is meeting almost weekly to try and have some kind of a recommendation by June, it might be good to have some of these things at least understood enough to keep our conversation going.
So I'll ask another question. Would it be helpful, and would Prudential Committee approve legal support services in having your attorney, Chris Leopold, attend a recreation meeting to help sort some of that out? I don't know where you're at with it. I just ask as far as
Right.
Personally, I think it
directionality.
would-
Yeah, it would definitely
I
help.
think
But,
it'll help.
So our next
You think
meeting
it's
is
Wednesday?
Wednesday, which is too soon for
Yeah.
him to be able to attend. But then our next one after that is
June 4th.
June 4th.
Oh, and you guys are
I think
gonna
we're
have
gonna
a
want-
decision by June 30th.
Well, that's our mission,
Target
but
date.
I
That's
don't
our
think we
mission.
will.
Is
Unless we
June
get a lot of
4th?
this stuff, and we're gonna,
Ours is the 6th. That's a Thursday, I think, right?
Wish I could
You know
remember.
what?
June 6th is a Monday.
June
Wait, hold
6th
on, I have
is
a
our
calendar here.
meeting, our carousel meeting. So the 4th,
there's a calendar in here. Well,
Do we agreed to meet on a Saturday?
June 4th is a Saturday.
yeah.
You didn't put a meeting on a Saturday? I won't be on I'm not even here on June 4th. It's a Saturday.
I don't think it's June 4th.
I must be wrong. Maybe it's in June now.
Is it in your
I believe
minutes?
It's June. I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, because your minutes ended with the May 4th
Right.
meeting, which you've already.
So we'll have to get the date of the
We'll have to
next,
get the
the
date.
meeting, the meeting following this Wednesday's meeting.
Okay.
I almost
June
think
1st.
that Mike is gonna have to work with Judy.
It's June 1st.
It's on
June
June
1st?
1st.
That's what it is? Okay. That makes more sense, because that's,
Yeah, that makes a
I
lot more
think
sense
that's
to me.
that's
It's a Wednesday.
a Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that might be timely.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
What time do you guys meet on June 1st? The
We-
rec,
We usually meet at
Sorry.
6:30.
6:30. If Chris Leopold came to that, should we meet like a half hour ahead of time with him? The PC?
to discuss just,
Aren't we going to have some other extra questions?
perhaps, I mean, I don't know.
Because by what date do we need to come up with all our contracts? Like if that property or Park Street, if we want to do anything with that, we got to do it by, July 1, 2017. So,
Yeah, I don't even know I don't know how much is involved in that, in all honesty.
well, I think
I'm
it has
guessing
to
here.
go for, I
That's fine.
suspect it goes for public vote.
That's fine if we want to meet with
I
them.
think it has to go out for
Yeah,
a
if it-
vote on the ballot, which in that case, you'd want to be in the November ballot,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
because you can do separate articles.
Yeah.
So I'll check his availability for 6 o'clock on June 1st.
June 1st, yeah.
And we can warn that for the PC to meet ahead of time. In the meantime, if you have additional questions, send them through
Okay.
Mike to me so that I have one list going.
Sure.
And then we'll take the questions that you generated tonight and send them forward.
Okay.
And we'll start to get some grounding
Yeah,
in,
that's good.
in the legal process moving forward. Helpful?
I think so.
Okay.
I think, the committee so far, as we've looked, we've really been focusing on what we think would be the best, honestly, what's the best solution?
Yeah, but a lot of them, like I said, have questions, because even if they go down a unified union municipal district, there's agreements that they would, and understandings that need to happen with the new school board.
Oh, yeah,
about
well, then you're,
model use.
yeah. And any of these things that combine the town and the village rec departments,
Yeah.
that there's all kinds of details that have to be worked out of that, just like the details that need to be worked out with EJ and Westford and the town for the school district.
Yep, so, yeah, I mean, I almost think the next meeting I'm gonna at least recommend that we ask the two rec departments to kind of bring a shell of what would a unified rec department look like? What would change?
One of the biggest concerns I have when we did the RED study, we thought over a period of 3 years, we'd have $100,000 in savings to show the community. But I think separating the rec away is going to be more expensive than what people were expecting and what was considered, and I think the voters are going to backlash on us.
Well, we
It was $1 million, we said.
Huh?
It was $1 million of savings that we
Over 3
talked
years.
about at the end of 3, beginning of the 4th year.
Oh, $1 million.
Yeah. So I think there's gonna be caution all the way around as far as what it looks like, and I just think, again, we should root ourselves in the legal process of what it looks like. I think that having the options available is a really good thing. I don't know what kind of criteria you've asked for as far as governance structure and the costs involved in that.
Don't have
And what
any of that yet.
no, none of that.
Committee's
yeah,
not that far.
the process isn't that far along. So, those would be things for us to help be informative, for wherever the services reside.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, I'm definitely concerned from us being as a Prudential committee member there, is the all the services that the school district is able to do for the students through the EJRP on our property, and if we need something, we have that arm to do it. If that becomes an independent entity, are we still going to be able to do all the things for the students that we've been trying to do? Or, in essence, to try and get all the stuff for the students, are we going to wind up having to build our own little group that handles some of this rec things on the side to complement what a independent body is doing? So that's just
Right.
a concern I have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, any other questions about the rec governance committee?
Well, there was, one thing that, because of some other discussion, one thing that was brought up on the previous rec meeting was when we had the various folks come and talk. We talked about, providing all the same services and the costs, what would that look like as far as how the distribution of taxes? And essentially, you would see the village tax bill for recreation would decrease because of currently the village paying for both town and village rec departments. And the town taxes would increase quite a bit. I think it would almost double, I think was the number.
I think that's based on current budgets.
That's what I'm saying. It's just
Not
just looking
on
at
cost of
Right,
splitting
right.
apart.
But that's where that's at least one place you can start and say, this is, okay, if we are somehow able to just merge everything together and the costs are these, this is what it would look like distributing the tax bill to folks. But, the specific numbers would definitely change once you get into how many people, how many, what kind of services, all that other stuff. Just wanted to mention that. All right. So next meeting is for the Rec Governance Committee is Wednesday at 6:30 right here in this building.
Yeah, this Wednesday. Nailed it.
Yes. All right. Consent agenda. How do we want to word the adjustments to the minutes?
So I think what we wanted to do is we would have wanted to approve the minutes with the modifications. The amended minutes, I'm sorry.
Right.
Amended minutes.
We did that. We talked about that though off camera. So maybe I
Do
should
we
make
have,
those corrections?
Mention revisions.
Here, let me
Yeah.
get minutes
I have three of them
out.
if you'd like.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you'd like to amend the minutes by taking out Tim Kemmerer from board members present, fix the spelling of Diane Clemens' last name, and add Martha Heath to the superintendent search committee along with Marla. The three that I had.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
You want me to take a stab at the motion and then nobody has to second it if you don't
Go on.
like it, okay?
It's all yours.
So, I move that we approve the consent agenda with the following. Approve warrants, approve the amended meeting minutes of April 14th, 2016, approve a request for activity support for a volleyball club at ADL, approve the roof bid as going to A.W. Hawthorne, appoint the EJSD clerk and treasurer.
Just a real quick correction. AC Hawthorne.
AC Hawthorne, okay, approve the roof bid for AC Hawthorne, and appoint Susan McNamara Hill as the Essex Junction School District Clerk and Treasurer, and recommendations for professional appointments are Kyla Paul at Summit Street, and Jenna Dalla Mira, the school nurse at ADL, and approve the request for the release of contract by Regina Sewell. And last, approve the request for an unpaid leave of absence from April 28th, 2016 to June 30th, 2016 for Sasha O'Connor.
I did have one question if I'm allowed to ask about all this.
Actually, I think I have to have a
Second.
second. Then we can discuss.
I'll second.
So, all right, I have a second
I
from
will
Jason.
second.
Okay,
So
now
can I
is
ask
there
my
any
question?
discussion
Is-
or comments?
I guess I just didn't understand on the professional appointment is that a 1-year appointment or is that a permanent appointment?
The Kyla Paul,
Yes.
it's a 1 year because remember you.
Right, well,
she's-
that's why I was asking that question, because it's basically fulfilling the role of the,
Leave of absence, you're
so,
correct.
okay, I just couldn't see when I read through it anywhere that said it was 1 year. That's why I was
Where it
questioning.
says, number 4, it says, oh, you probably haven't seen the contract.
Yeah, we haven't seen the contract.
I'm sorry, it says
Yeah,
temporary.
I'm reading the recommendation for hire that I read through.
Yes,
It
it
doesn't
didn't
ever,
say
in
that
there it doesn't
anywhere.
say
Correct, it
1
doesn't.
year.
It
So
doesn't.
this is
Okay.
so it is a 1-year
This
appointment.
is a temporary 1-year appointment, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that.
And
Okay.
and then the other question on that, where was it? And I just didn't understand. It says that the job, maybe job category was administrator. I thought it was a teaching job
In the,
on the recommendation for a higher professional appointment. And I
Maybe
just
under
didn't
job
know-
category?
on the job category.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if that was a mistake that needed to be corrected, or if because it's a 1 year, that's the way that's the way it's classified. But I thought it was it's a teaching position.
it is, I think
So
that's
it's-
a mistake.
That is an error.
Thank
Good
you.
catch.
Okay.
The contract, I'm assuming, has it correctly listed.
Yes,
Okay.
teacher.
Okay. Then
Good catch.
that was
That's
just
a really
my
good catch.
question.
Good catch.
Okay, any others? Okay, then all those in favor of the consent agenda as moved, say aye.
Aye.
That was an amazing motion you made. Just have to say that.
Yes.
Well, as we kept getting info throughout the week, I kept changing the motion, you know? It's like-
I was like, oh wow, she got that all straight. That was huge.
All right, so future agenda items. Our next meeting is June,
First.
6.
no, that June 1st is the governance.
Yeah, but we're having.
Oh, yes, you're right. We're gonna have a
6
we're
o'clock,
gonna have a
so
meeting
our
before that,
next
that's
meeting
correct.
will be at June 1st.
Right, and so that one will be to,
Pending Chris's availability.
right.
Pending Chris's availability. Otherwise, we have the carousel.
The other
on
one is June 6th.
Right.
Carousel, and that'll be at the high school,
So
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So any further questions for the June 1st meeting, you'll
We'll send to Mike.
to Mike.
Yep.
And then for your carousel meeting, do you have any agenda topics you want to bring forward?
Don't we need to see an update on our budget? Don't, you know, we get those little blurbs every once in a while from Grant or whoever sends them out.
Oh,
Are
just
we
saying
due to
what's
see-
spent and actuals
Yeah,
and.
yeah, aren't we due to see one of those?
Usually, fourth quarter comes out in your, not at your June meeting, because your books aren't closed until July 1st. I'll check in with Grant to see if there are any budget updates.
I think just because he's done as of June 30th, it might behoove us if there's something going on that we need to know about.
And,
Will we have a new hire to meet?
not yet. The question there, I mean, that might be a professional appointment. That'll be for the CCSU board.
Right.
Actually, that's really the superintendent's decision, but that would be a conversation if there's a new CFO coming forward.
Right.
I'll have that conversation with everyone. So the CFO might be on the agenda with open prayers. Although I did want to ask if the board wanted to do anything to recognize the decade of service that Mr. Geisler has provided. I kind of wanted to ask that of each of the boards and whether you were interested in doing something. You're all together that night, so maybe that, I mean,
I think that would be very appropriate to do.
if at the beginning of the meeting when we come together, we just spend a few minutes, maybe cake.
Yeah.
something
I think
simple,
a cake and
card.
honor him. Maybe other staff would want to come and and say, have some cake with us. But are we going to do a gift? Is there any plans to ask for donations towards a gift of some type?
Nobody spearheaded anything around it yet, so. I mean, it's, you as a board could have a conversation, maybe your chairs could talk about a shared gift.
Right.
I think that would be appropriate. I'm in favor of Mike talking to Brian Donahue and Mark Drappa and see if there's something jointly the chairs can come up with
I think that's a good idea.
as a thank you for 10 years of service.
Yes.
I think another thing I'm gonna try to coordinate that night, for the Prudential Committee, is to extend an invitation, for Jennifer Wood, the new principal at ADL.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
I know we're gonna have her here
Yes.
tonight.
She wasn't available, I
Oh.
tried. So I'm hoping in June, I'm better, we're more fortunate. So we'll do that, introductions. Is this the night you'd like your principals to come forward with any end of the year?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
report out on their action plans?
I
Yeah.
think that's a good idea.
So they won't be complete because
I don't
assessment,
think,
but overarching
Right.
yeah.
action plan report outs.
Challenges, what's working well, the challenges.
Progress, challenges, successes,
Mm-hmm.
moments of pride. Good. Helpful, that's very helpful.
Oh, darn, I thought of something.
One thing I wanted to add for sure, all of your schools this month and into June a little, are practicing evacuation and relocation.
Yeah.
Summit will be this Thursday. Fleming was last Friday. So we've had police and rescue and fire joining us, and it might be very helpful to have a report out on
The status of that.
the status.
Okay.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Question, I'm not sure it's a future agenda item, but the new board member, will you be meeting with him, Mike, and basically filling him in, or who's going to be meeting?
I hope so.
So
Okay.
you have his contact information?
I have what's in his letter here.
So, if you contact him, I'll follow up with a contact, refer him to Susan McNamara Hill to be sworn in by her, and then
He could be at the June 1st meeting.
at the
in
June
time.
1st meeting, and he can be introduced as well, because he's the only new board member
Okay.
Right.
of the 16. I can do an abbreviated orientation.
That would probably be a good thing.
Yeah. And you might have to follow up with some additional as a
Right.
As the
Yeah.
chair.
Some additional information and training.
yeah.
Okay.
So, do you want me to contact first?
No, I'll contact him first
Okay.
to let him know that we've appointed him.
And
And-
then have him expect a call from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will you send me an email after you've contacted him? So
Will
I
do.
know? Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Well, sounds like a good meeting.
Okay. And then just as a quick note, at the beginning of your org notes is a list of the activities for all the school events, the end of year stuff. I don't expect that we're going to, somebody's going to be able to make everything. But whatever you can make is really appreciated at the schools. And it's a, it's kind of a fun time also just to finish out the year with the students
Mm-hmm.
I read
in various ways. You go to Fleming, you might have to flip burgers or
Yeah.
hand out potato chips and stuff like that. It's not a bad gig.
Same at ADL.
And ADL.
After their Memorial Day, they have a barbecue too.
Right.
That was in the org notes, wasn't it?
Mhm.
That's what I said. It's right on the first page of the org notes.
Am I missing it?
It's number 4.
Under general updates.
Oh, I keep scrolling right by it.
We'll go right by it. Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm not going to schedule anybody to things, but whatever you can make, try and make it. If you can.
So this Fleming Spring Instrumental Concert is right on top of
Your board meeting.
the rec board meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that when your child is?
I don't have anybody
Oh,
Fleming
okay.
yet.
No, it's just
I'm a
that's
year
how it
away.
goes.
I'm a year away. Yeah.
So-
And your teachers were so appreciative of the
Oh, yeah,
beautiful
yeah.
baskets that you sent to
Yes.
them during Teacher Appreciation Week.
And I forgot to bring it again. Lori Singer gave us a thank you note for the evening and the gifts that we did. And Ben was great and gave it to me when I was over at Central Office. And I promised him I'd bring it and show everybody. I keep forgetting. I'll try to have that for June 1st. But very lovely thank you note to us. So.
And then one other thing under community communication.
New board member.
Yeah, we could put that out. I could send that out on to the front porch. We appointed Patrick. And then a very brief synopsis of the other items we talked about tonight.
Good.
Great.
Okay. Nothing else? Going once? Going twice?
Do you on front
Stop!
front
Spotty,
porch forum things we've discussed? Do you update as the chair the community to follow the EJRP meetings, the study governance
Oh,
meetings?
well, in that case, we've tasked it out to everybody that's on the committee to put that out. That not just one individual. Everybody get it out because sometimes it's just who is the person whose name associated with it. Whether a person reads that little bit in
true.
the front porch forum. So we thought we'd get a little bit more response by having it come from several different people. We got pretty good results, I think, with the survey. I mean, pretty decent. I don't know what the final tally is going to be. I think we'll get a brief out on that on Wednesday. The survey that went out to the whole community. So, okay. All right. Well then, with nothing else, we are adjourned.